Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, this is Jennie Walker, and welcome to Closet Conversations. Today we're starting off a new series on Hollywood stylists. Since my last episode with you, I talked about how I had closed down my consignment shop in Pasadena and moved into a shared showroom space in Hollywood with a clothing rental house. This clothing rental house, called Clothes LA, works with stylists and gets clothing on the red carpet, for music videos, and editorial shoots and things like that. And I've met so many wonderful people here. I thought I would just start a series so that you could learn what I've been learning about how it works with styling in Hollywood and what's going on behind the scenes. Today I have with two top stylists from the LA area. One is Tabitha Sanchez and the other one is Spies. And both of them are here today, and we're going to have a quick chat about styling and what all is involved in that. Welcome.
Thank you, Jennie.
Thank you. Oh, well, thanks for having me, having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with me. Oh, yeah. Well, listen, I guess the first question is, what is styling, and how did each of you get into that? Tabitha, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I got into styling maybe like 5 years ago while I was living in New York, and basically I was working at a bookstore and selling vintage clothes to friends and friends of friends, and someone suggested that I get a job as a stylist, and so I found an internship, and I interned, and I started assisting, and then I started doing my own work. That's kind of it, how it happened.
Great. And how long have you been doing this?
I have been doing my own work for 3 years now.
Okay.
And then assisting and interning for 2 years.
So you're full-time styling?
Full-time styling, yeah.
And full-time is probably, 24 hours a day?
7 days a week.
Kind of, yeah. Okay, well, Issa, tell us about how you got into it.
Yeah, so I went to school in San Francisco, and there I studied for my undergrad business with a sustainability minor. I was doing tech world for a second, working for a startup, and then I kind of just hit my threshold. I'm not much of a computer person, like sit at home just doing that 9-to-5 hustle. And so I kind of sat with myself for a little bit, and I was like, no, this isn't for me. And I had some friends like in the network who were doing styling here in LA. And I actually remember getting coffee with one of them and her just kind of telling me about it, telling me how interactive it was and also how crazy it was too. And I was kind of like, yeah, that's my vibe. Like that's something there I feel like I would thrive. And I have fashion context. Both my grandmothers on my mom and my dad's side were very fashionable, but in their own ways. One was like the thrifter, and then my German grandmother, my Oma, was very chic and refined kind of style. So from them, I always had a love for fashion. And then from there, I started interning. I actually reached out to a celebrity stylist, and he just so happened to need an intern. And so I flipped from my tech world job into the styling world. And then fast forward, I've done a lot of assisting the past year, and I'm slowly starting to get my own gigs, especially in the music video world. And it's really exciting because just coming from that techie business background, there is some context to that. I also do digital styling as well as in-person production work now. And I always love thinking about the future of fashion, and I'm super happy to be involved with both of y'all here at Closed Rental House because I love the sustainability context. I love vintage, and it's just so fun to see all of that come together in the space and be with like-minded people.
It is a lot of fun. Now, you mentioned music videos, so I'm going to go back to Tabitha because I know that you have styled some music videos and do a lot of them and actually use some of my things in it, like my pink Vivian Westwood satin bustier, for example. So tell everyone a little bit about styling is a little different whether it's a music video or red carpet, but when you're doing a music video, what goes into that? How are those decisions made, and who has the final say on those looks?
So for music videos, there's usually, there's always a director, and someone makes a treatment, and they kind of break down shot by shot what's going to be done for the video. And usually within that treatment, they've either decided, okay, we need an outfit change here, 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 or sometimes I'll come in and I'll be okay, I think we need another look or whatever. And then we'll do a fitting with the artist, the talent, and then send those photos over to their team and the director, and they kind of say yes or no. And so ultimately the artist gets to make the decision, but there are a lot of moving parts and different opinions about what is the best.
Mm-hmm. So when you're dressing for a music video, it's more than just the primary singer. I mean, it could be a whole group of people. So you're bringing in looks for a lot of different people.
Yeah, sometimes, definitely.
And so every one of those looks gets presented and approved.
Yeah, I feel like there's less attention to the extras. I don't really feel like I've ever done fittings for extras. I feel like I kind of just come to set and we figure it out. Mm-hmm.
That's my experience too. For the first time over 2 weekends ago, I fit the crew for a music video. Okay. And it was a little bit of back and forth too. They're definitely because one of the crew was also a star member narrative was a little girl, and so there definitely was some context within back and forth. I think it's important because there are so many moving parts and there's so much communication to be had to just make sure that everything is streamlined. But also in this world, I think it's important, and you learn this as you go, but to have some options and sometimes to have backup options too, because you never know. So something might even work in the fitting, and then for some reason it's not showing up the same way it should on camera or whatever it may be. So always being over-prepared and just making sure to be thinking about that, just in case. But definitely, sometimes there is so much back and forth, and there can be last-minute runs too to grab things. But overall, it's just making sure that the narrative, the scope of the video is cohesive.
So you're given a budget, I assume. Can you explain to people how you're paid? Not exact numbers, but in general. How is the stylist paid? Is it by the hour? Is it by the project? Is it by the number of people? Is it so much per day? Or I'm sure there's probably more than one way to be compensated, but maybe Tabitha, you can talk about that a little bit.
Honestly, it really changes per project.
Okay.
The way I would be paid for a music video is different than how I'll be paid for a red carpet, for example. And there's not always wardrobe budget. I feel like you would assume that there is, but usually I find for a music video, it's almost, in my experience, an all-in rate, and I'm having to go from there and then separate a wardrobe budget. If that makes sense.
So you basically it's one group, it's X amount of dollars for this project, out of which you pay yourself and get the clothes.
Yeah, sometimes,
right?
Yeah. Or sometimes it'll be a per day rate, and so fitting, prep, returns, and then there's a wardrobe budget, which is what I prefer, but it doesn't always work that way. Sarah, what's your experience?
Yeah, thus far, that depends. Because sometimes when it is that one number for the project, there's a little bit more strategy involved too, and because you're trying to to keep numbers down, but also to find really cool stuff, and so it's a lot of collaboration and also giving leverage to small designers maybe in that moment too. But it does help to keep things organized when there is that separate budget rate, because I think that is important, because if to get the clothes does cost something, and there is there's a lot that goes into it. With we could talk about too, going to the rental houses or costume houses is a big part of this world too, and making sure that you have options ready to go. There's all different ways to source things.
Well, that's the thing that I never understood as a regular consumer who previously had no knowledge of this. I just assumed everybody bought everything. Mm-hmm. It never occurred to me things were being rented. I mean, that just in and of itself, it makes sense, but like, wow, it's almost like wardrobe, almost like this is your part, this is your event. Like it's almost like costuming, and if you will, but for a particular, whether it's a red carpet or a video, whatever. And I don't know what I was thinking. I just thought that everybody went to Saks Fifth Avenue and just paid for everything. You know, I just had no idea.
Right.
But it makes sense because some of the things are so special or so unique and they're vintage. So it's like it isn't current season. And I think just in and of the fact that you have things that aren't current season means you had to get them somewhere other than the department store. So can you talk about some of the places you go to get things? You mentioned rental houses. Like, where else do you go?
Well, yeah, costume houses. I would differentiate that a little bit. Like, costume houses could also be places that costumers for films go to. So it's even more widespread for small little, like, niche items that you're like, where will I be able to find that? And you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the costume house because they'll probably have that random item. And yeah, there's a lot of different spots too. I mean, I mentioned small designers too. I think something that is important from also a sustainability perspective is supporting small designers in their work as they come up. And so it's a great opportunity to source locally. Yeah. And here in LA, there's so many amazing designers that exist and who have wonderful, just all-encompassing work that deserves to be, you know, recognized and seen. And so it's also working with those designers to get some pieces on talent too, to bring leverage to them. Definitely.
So, Tabitha, I know you have representation, for example. So how does that play into the projects that come your way? Do they find them for you? And how did you get representation to begin with?
Yeah. So I've had my agent for, I think, almost 2 years. Or we've been working together. Yeah, we've been working together for 2 years now. And I got connected to her through a makeup artist who she also represents. She's a good friend of mine. And yeah, I don't know. I like having an agent because it means I don't ever have to talk about money with anyone. Nice. I don't have to talk about invoices. I don't have to talk about anything business related. I can just be creative and fun. I'll just be like someone, usually my jobs, someone will come directly to me, whether it's through Instagram or they'll email me directly or it's a personal referral from a friend. And I'll just be like, yeah, interested. Can you shoot my agent an email and just put me in CC to make sure that she's getting the email? And and then she takes it from there and figures out like what they're able to pay. Like I don't really know. I'm never on those emails. And then sometimes the agency does bring me work, but more often than not, it's something that I've brought in, and then I loop them in.
Got it.
Handle, like, negotiations.
So basically, they are able to negotiate for you and on your behalf. That is nice. I always think having a layer, that would be great.
Yeah.
You know, and I like having a layer for this now because Jordan Grossman, who is the owner of Clothes LA, is reaching out to all her stylist friends to get all of you on here with me. So I have a layer. I don't have to do it myself, which is great. So we're just getting a taste of Tabitha and Issa today on our very first episode. For a variety of reasons, we're going to cut it short. We're laughing because I usually have a little button where I can extend my show, and it's not showing today for some reason because I think Mercury's in retrograde. So we just have a few seconds left. Check out Tabitha Sanchez on Instagram, Tabitha R. Sanchez, or Issa Charlotte Spies. You can connect with them there. We're going to have them back on another episode. But thank you for joining me, and I look forward to having you with me again. You're so welcome. Bye. Okay. I don't know what happened. We had 15